The Arizona Cardinals have an ugly win, or were the Saints better than we anticipated? Like and subscribe, of course, to PHNX Cardinals, Bo Brack, Johnny Venerable, and we're joined, of course, by the host of the Ross Tucker podcast. Follow social Ross Tucker NFL and call this game on Sunday from the Big Easy. Ross Tucker joins us here on PHNX Cards. And Ross, it was a banner day for the Cardinals, but, starting off with how I kind of kicked off the interview, was it an ugly win, or the Saints a little bit better than we thought they would be?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I don't often say this, right? But I really like both of your names. I decided a long time ago, if my name was John, I would be Johnny.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like, who wants to be John? You want to put him in a body bag, Johnny. You know what I mean? Like Karate Kid style. And then I really like the names Bo and Brack, actually. So if we ever had a son, I would have been pushing for them, and I would have gotten outruled in favor of Harry, I think. But whatever. I have 2 daughters. Doesn't matter. I'll say this. I think the first game is always tricky. That's not an easy place to play in New Orleans against the Saints with a new offensive coordinator, head coach, a new defensive coordinator. You really didn't know what you were going to get. I think they are more talented than people realize. Certainly their receivers can roll. They've got a bunch of veteran stud players on the defensive side of the ball. Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, etc. And listen, give him credit. I thought Rattler played pretty well. He played like a professional quarterback. He played like a guy that has games under his belt and didn't turn it over. I thought he was pretty conservative. It was pretty clear, and they told us they were going to do this. Arizona wanted to make him go the long road, and, maybe he was able to have more success than people anticipate. They scored 13 points. You know what I mean? Like, you can say all those things. They ultimately scored 13 points, which you're going to win most NFL games if you only give up 13 points.
Ross, a lot's been made about Marvin Harrison Jr., his body transformation this offseason. He took a lot of shots nationally about why you like Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr. And I think, we've argued usage last year might have been a problem. He was on a team that was contending till the very end where some of those other wideouts were kind of spam the football. What did you see from the second-year player from Ohio State from a day that I thought was relatively productive?
Well, a couple things. One is seeing him on the field before the game, it's noticeable the weight he put on. Let me just tell you, he wasn't eating donuts, okay? Like, he put on 11 pounds of, rocked up muscle. He looked awesome on the field before the game. Secondly, I would say that I was one of the people that's skeptical of him in general, and then in particular the weight gain. I've always said if you lined up 10 guys going into a season that gained weight and 10 guys going into a season that lost weight, I will take the guys that lost weight any day of the week, right? I'm typically skeptical of putting weight on, but it seemed like it worked for him. I mean, he made some big plays. He had the one down the field where it doesn't look like the weight gain has really slowed him down, which I thought was really encouraging. They were the worst pairing in the NFL last year with over 75 targets from a completion percentage standpoint. 53% when Kyler threw it to Marvin Harrison. To put that in perspective for your listeners and your viewers, Kyler to Trey McBride was 75%. That's a big difference. I actually brought that number up with Kyler when we met with him, and he said it's going to be way better than 53% this year. And it certainly was on Sunday. Highly, highly encouraging. I'm not going to sit here and say he's Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas, but I will say that, those guys got fed a lot of targets for their respective teams. Trey McBride, they don't have Trey McBride on those teams, right? Like, Trey McBride's so good, he's going to get a lot of targets. But what's most important is that Marvin is more efficient with the targets he does get, and he certainly was on Sunday. It was a really, really encouraging start in that way.
Yeah, I think it's unbelievable Sundays when you're on the call, you're also doing the Ross Tucker podcast, in the wee hours of the morning. I listened to you the next day. Your evaluation of Kyler Murray was, he missed some throws, but you thought he was effective with his arms and his legs, Ross. What was your overall evaluation of him? As you mentioned there, like he had a near perfect passer rating when targeting Marv, but it was just his overall performance. What'd you think about K1?
Well, so I thought it was very favorable, right? The issue with him is he still misses a couple throws a game that are tough to explain, right? Like the one on the goal line when Marvin was wide open on the post or the crossing route. I don't know what happens there, right? Like I don't know if that's a footwork thing or maybe Marvin didn't run the route exactly the way he was anticipating. So I would say the issue for Kyler is that he misses some throws that he really needs to make. The flip side is he's able to make some incredible throws, and he makes plays with his legs that other guys just can't, right? So you got to take the good with the bad. He was put in a lot of bad spots. I would say one of the major negatives of the Cardinals in this game was the penalties on the O-line, right? I mean, Isaiah had at least one, maybe two. Evan Brown, I think, had two holds. Froholt had one. You guys go look at the analytics. If you have a penalty on a drive, super, super hard to score points in general, but a touchdown in particular. And that's one of the things that hurt the Cardinals and kind of bogged them down was those penalties by the offensive line. I would say that was probably the most disappointing group on the team, was that those guys didn't play better. They needed those guys to play better. If they just didn't have those penalties or half those penalties, Cardinals probably scored 24, 27 points.
Yeah, I made the argument, Ross, like Cardinals line of scrimmage players on both sides, hardly any of them played in the preseason, where you've got the Saints, they're playing everybody throughout, 2 or 3 quarters because they have to. A player that did play a lot in the preseason, and I think it carried over, was the play of rookie sensation Will Johnson. He went 47th overall. There were questions about his durability long-term, and we're sitting here. That's about as good of a performance I can remember from a Cardinal rookie offense or defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to go sensation, Johnny. I think sensation might be a little bit strong after one game. Rookie sensation. No, you know what? He was awesome. I mean, it's so funny to me too. Like the Eagles took this Jahad Campbell from Alabama with the 31st pick. He dropped because of his injury history. The guy's awesome, right? The left tackle for the Chiefs, Josh Simmons dropped because of health issues. He looked pretty good to me. And Will Johnson was fantastic. I would say this too. Not only was Will fantastic, they tried to beat him with the deep ball. He ran the route better than Shaheed. The whole concern is his speed. He did not let Shaheed get behind him. The Saints were like, hey, if we get Shaheed on that slow Will Johnson, we're taking him deep. Nope. Will was on top of him. Will got the pick. Hated the call on the other side of the field, but they called it, whatever. Very frustrating. But that was tremendous. The hit on Olave, I can't even tell you how many good things come just from that, right? Like, number one, that he read it that quickly and saw it. He's that smart. Secondly, most guys in that situation, they're not going to be good enough to lay a vicious legal hit like that, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe they just make the play, or maybe they lay a vicious hit, but it gets penalized. Nope. That was perfect. Shoulder right in the chest. I loved it because I love hits like that we can demonstrate to people at lower levels of football. Look, the sport hasn't gone soft. You can still unload on a guy. Just do it this way. Just do it a safer way. I'll say this too. He wasn't perfect. I kind of thought Max Melton played well too. They got him a couple times, but guess what? He got them a couple times too. If you think about question marks for the Cardinals coming into the year, Marvin taking the next step is obviously a big one, and the young corners are a big one. If I'm a Cardinals fan right now, I'm feeling like real good about how those question marks were answered in the first game.
Yeah, further on that hit, because we've watched that hit about as much as we can, a replay from the game, Ross, and I thought your reaction to it was almost like guttural. It just like exploded out of you. You saw what was about to happen to poor Chris Olave on that. But Buda Baker says in the post-game locker room, and then JG, follows up yesterday saying that was a coaching point from defensive coordinator Nick Rollis, that if they read that to jump that route, and he remembered that, and they were praising his how brilliant and how smart he is to remember that and make that play. So really impressive from number 0 week 1 there, Ross.
I think I when I watched the tape back, I think I went, oh,
yeah,
before he even hit him.
Yeah.
Like I saw it coming and I was like, oh no, like, oh, like that's like, gosh, can you imagine you like Olave's mom? Or I mean, that's just bad, dude. It's bad, really bad. I mean, listen, that's the sport. Of all guys, though, Olave got 2 concussions last year. He's had 5 in his career, missed 9 games. Thank goodness he didn't hit him in the head. Thank goodness.
Yeah. You look around the NFC West, Ross, I know it's only been 1 week. The Cardinals get a win. You had to get that win at the Superdome against the team rebuilding like the Saints. Brock Purdy's injury now in San Francisco. Darnold didn't look great. The Rams are the Rams. Like, where do you put the Cardinals in this hierarchy? Is this a playoff team in your mind, given the personnel, or do you have to see it play out?
They have a terrific chance. They have to take care of business. Like this Carolina game, they cannot doink off one of these games. You know what I mean? Like, take care of business, ideally win by 2 scores. Never easy in the NFL. Carolina's not as bad as they looked in that last game. Carolina will be better, but the Cardinals just need to come out. I'd like to see a really mature performance from them, right? Like, win by 2 scores. Don't let it come down to a throw into the end zone on the last play where you could have lost or at least gone to overtime. I think that's kind of the next step for this team, is just like professionally, maturely taking care of business and winning the games that they need to win and taking the next step.
Yeah.
And I think certainly if they could cut back on the penalties, that would go a long way.
Ross, Johnny has a 10-year-old who's emerging as a great football player, dominated the flag football circuit. I've got a 4-year-old future linebacker and a 3-month-old as well. And you got a great little thing going here with futurefans.com, helping teach young kids to love and understand football. What else can you tell us about it?
Well, so it's crazy because I don't know, Johnny, if you've dealt with this, Bo, it's probably a little early for you. It's actually really hard to get little kids to sit and watch a whole football game with you.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, they want to be on their iPad. They want to be doing other stuff. So I met these guys from futurefans.com. They kind of cracked the code. So you'll appreciate this, but they're Bengals fans. And a few years ago, when the Bengals went on their Super Bowl run, they couldn't get their kids to watch the games. And their kids, Dad, I'll watch next year. They're like, no. We're Bengals fans. Like, you got to watch now. This is the time. Sit down. So they know what kids like, right? Kids at those age, 4 to 10, like in between your kids, they like reading books, storybooks. They like doing activities like games. So they combine those two so that your kid can actually understand football, and like there's a bag toss to know, ring toss to know what the downs are like. And I talked to so many people, otherwise I wouldn't have invested in the company. Talked to so many people, seen so many videos. It works. Like, once they understand it, they'll actually sit there and watch the game with you. So you feel like you're, giving them a gift for $60 or whatever it is. You're really giving yourself a gift if you get them to actually sit there and watch the Cardinals game with you every week for 3 hours, like we all used to do with our dad. So futurefans.com, futurefans.com. I think if you go throw your email address in, you even get a 20% discount. So what would that be? Knocks it down to $50. So futurefans.com. Give yourself the gift that keeps on giving forever if you can make them and help them be fans of the Cards like you guys are.
Unbelievable stuff. Make sure you check it out, futurefans.com, and also listen to the Ross Tucker podcast wherever you find your podcast, and follow on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Ross, where are you at this week?
It's like a home game for me. It's Browns at Ravens. I live in Hershey, PA. So Baltimore is like an hour away, which is Perfect. I love it. No flights, which is great because my flight was 2 hours delayed coming back from New Orleans after the game Sunday. So kind of like you guys this weekend, I got virtually a home game, which will be great. And you want to talk about tough. Both teams that clearly outplayed their opponent. They both had a kicker miss an extra point, and they both lost by 1 point. So that's life in the NFL. They'll obviously both be desperate for a win.
Ross, thank you so much for making some time with us. Our listeners are fired up to have you. Hope to have you back soon, my guy.
Hey, honestly, I hope to do another Cardinals game this year. I would love to come back on with you guys. Bo, thank you so much for your help with my prep before the game. That was invaluable, really meant a lot. And I got good reviews from the bosses, and you were part of that. So thank you.
Nice. Anytime, Ross. Thanks, man.